Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Focus on Christ podcast, episode 1. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and what this podcast is going to be about in this episode. So I'm going to be referring to some notes. So if you see me look away, I am looking at my notes, and I hope that's okay with you. So I just wanted to say welcome and thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoy this first episode. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. So the majority of my background throughout my adult life has been serving in the military. I have almost 23 years of experience in the military. I started out in the military as in the infantry, then I became a combat medic, and then I worked in the medical lab for a while, for about 7 years, and then I ended my career in the intelligence community. So it's been quite a diverse journey for me in the military. I've served in leadership capacities while in the military for those 23 years. About probably 19 to 20 of them, I was in some sort of leadership capacity, starting out at the bottom as a team leader and working my way all the way up. I retired as a sergeant first class with a couple hiccups in the middle, and that's going to happen sometimes. But it was a lot of fun. I had 2 military deployments under my belt while I was serving in the Army. One to Kosovo and one to Iraq. If you're not familiar with Kosovo, it's over in the Balkans. Think of Serbia and Albania and some of those areas that you see sometimes in the movies if you're not familiar with them. I have right around 15 years I have been studying leadership and been heavily involved in personal growth and working on myself and becoming a much better version of who I am. And depending on who you are, it's a long journey for a lot of us. And for me personally, there's no end in sight, not because I am not better, but because personal growth and leadership and those interests in my life are ongoing. If you're not growing, you're basically dying. And so I want to continue to grow for my lifetime. I am a certified John Maxwell team member. If you're not familiar with John Maxwell, he is the world's foremost leadership expert as rated by Forbes magazine. And so he has a plethora, just a huge amount of knowledge in the leadership community, and is very well recognized and respected in multiple governments. We're in 4 countries now where we're trying to reshape those governments by providing them leadership resources and training and tools and material and that sort of thing. So I have been with the John Maxwell team for about 3 years now. I'm in what's called the mentorship program. It's a level of in the John Maxwell team certification program where I have a little bit more direct access to some of the faculty and mentors on staff. So that's a lot of fun. On more of the religious or spiritual side of things, however you want to frame that, I spent about 2 to 4 years preaching intermittently. So 1 to sometimes 4 times a month I would be in the pulpit preaching to whatever congregation that I was working where I was at the time. And throughout the course of those same months, I would be either on Sunday evening or a Wednesday evening, I would be leading the discussion classes, that sort of thing. So I have some what you might call pulpit time, although not in the paid capacity, more of in the lay capacity. So again, a lot of fun, and I learned a lot and grew a lot during those time periods. I also, while I was stationed in Iraq, I was responsible for the church that was there for my denomination, so I did the majority of the preaching there as well while I was in Iraq, and just keeping that church running and going and strong and healthy while I was there. So lots and lots of fun. That was really one of the highlights out of my tour in Iraq. I currently serve as a deacon in my church, and so I am in a leadership capacity there where I have some weekly responsibilities that have to be taken care of. I am married. I have been divorced. I am married. Currently married to. I've been married to my wife. We're going on 8 years this year, and so that's exciting. I married into a family with 4 children, 2 of which are now in college. One's in their 3rd year of college. The other one's in their 2nd year of college, and then I have 2 boys that are still here at home with us. So. I have being in a blended family. If you've not been a part of a blended family, is a very unique experience, and it has in many ways forced me to grow and develop at a accelerated rate. So again, a lot of fun. Learned a lot. There's highs and lows for sure. However, it's been a great experience for me. If you are in the business community, maybe you have heard of ClickFunnels. I am a ClickFunnels guy, whatever that means. That's the platform that I use for building out my website and membership pages and resources and different things like that in the online or internet marketing environment. So a lot of the marketing stuff that I'm familiar with comes from the ClickFunnels community, and so I am at a certain level in that community as well, where I have a little bit more direct access to some of the leadership in there. Because one of the things that I have learned over the course of time is that your ability to grow caps out by your highest level of association. So one way that you've probably heard about it is that you will never outgrow your 5 closest associations in your life. And so I try to associate with people that are a much higher level than I am, so that I can grow into that, and then I can grow from that point on. I currently have 2 businesses. I have one that's focused on Christ, that's what this podcast is for. It's in support of that business. And then I also have one, Jolie Connections, which is more John Maxwell team related. So for the time being, I am will be doing one podcast right now, which is the Focus on Christ podcast, which you're listening to right now. So again, I appreciate you tuning in and dialing into this podcast. Now you know a little bit about who I am and where I come from and some of the experience that I'm going to be bringing to the table as I share with you different things over the course of time. So I'm going to give you, real quickly, I'm going to give you what my mission is and why this is important and why I'm even talking to you right now, because you're probably, if you don't know what Focus on Christ is about already and you don't know who I am, then you're probably curious about what's this all about. Several months ago, probably about a year, maybe a little more than a year ago, I was given a mission, and it was a mission that I consider it was given to me by God. I can give you the whole backstory on it at some point, and I probably will, about how that came to me. However, at the end of the day, I was left with the understanding that my mission in life was to bring leadership back to the church. And there's a lot of reasons that go into that, and I am not going to share them all with you right now. Like I said, over the course of time, I will be sharing those stories with you. You'll be learning a little bit more about why I believe that is so critical and why that's so important to our future of Christians around the world. So the way that I'm going to be able to impact leadership in the church is like any other community. You have to start with the youngest element. So I'm in my mid-40s now, and I have a 40-year mission. My ability to influence people that are my age or older has a limited shelf life. Most people, you get to age 65 and most people are like, okay, I've served my part in this community. It's time for me to take a back seat. I'm stretching that. I'm going quite a few more years past that for a 40-year mission, because I believe that's what God has called me to. Now, if I really want to impact the future and impact generations, I know that I have to start at a much younger age. If I can start impacting our youth at anywhere between the ages of 7 and 13 all the way up through their teenage years, and I can help them, teach them leadership principles and teach them to begin valuing themselves again and believing in the mission that God has given them and their unique value as an individual and different things like that. I can actually impact generationally. Where if I work with people my age and older, the impact is going to be very limited because the reach just isn't the same. If I can impact a youth, though, and I can impact them for the next 40 to 60 years of their life, then I can really begin to reshape how leadership is looked at and how people view Christ in the world. And that's super, super important to me. We've seen in the last 10, 20 years, we've seen a major, major shift of people moving away from the church. And when I say church, I don't necessarily mean a physical building and a physical structure, but even religiosity is becoming a thing of the past. People say, well, I am spiritual, but I'm not religious, or I'm spiritual, but I don't go to church. And at the same time, their life does not reflect their words. I want to create a world, help to create and shape a world where our actions show the world that we are Christian, and our actions show the world that we love Christ and that we love them and so many things. And I know that I need to start at a very young age to be able to do that. And I guess the rest of my mission is that I want to help to reshape the world so that it will learn to trust Christ again and look to Christ for the answers to what's going on. I have a firm belief that there will never be peace on earth. That's not how this world was created. It's not how God set this up. However, we can do a much better job than what we're doing right now, and I want to be a part of that. So what's this podcast going to be about? That's the next big question. What are you going to hear on and how frequently are you going to hear it? My goal is to do 3 podcasts a week. Whether that will happen here in the beginning in particular, I don't know, but that's my commitment. I want to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast, and keep that as regular as I possibly can. So this one will, when this one gets processed, it'll get released. So I'm looking at doing 3 podcasts per week. What are they going to be about? So what are you going to hear when you tune into one of my podcasts? You're going to hear, there's quite a few things that you're going to hear. The 90% of the time, what you're going to hear from me is going to be very Christ-centric. It's going to be very Christian-centric. It's going to be if I'm teaching a leadership principle, or I'm teaching a whatever, it doesn't matter. It's going to shape and focus on Christ. So there will always be that spiritual side of things, because that's where my heart is. That's where I want to focus everything. I want everything coming through a filter of Christ and a Christian response. And if Christ isn't your thing, the principles that I will be teaching, you can focus through your filter. I will simply use the term God, and I will use Christ, and I will use Christian as terms that allow me to filter my information, because that is what is most important to me. You're going to hear things you're going to hear a lot of leadership type of information from me. I will be interviewing people, and when we have those discussions, they are going to be either leadership related, or they will be dealing with some of the challenges that we see in our world on a frequent basis. So maybe it's how do we what's caused some of the problems that we're seeing. How do we address some of the problems that we're seeing in society? What happened that caused us to what are some of the major shifts that cause people to begin looking elsewhere for answers rather than looking to Christ? What is it that has caused our youth to begin leaving our churches at a faster rate than what we've ever seen before in history? So I'll be interviewing people, and we'll be addressing some of those things, and it'll always be through a leadership lens and through a Christian perspective filter. We'll be discussing some things that are business, because as a Christian, there is no separation between your business and your Christian walk. If you have a demarcation between what you do in your business and what you do in your Christian walk, you're really confused. There is no separation. It is your Christian walk, and then your business filters through that Christian walk. It's not the other way around. You don't bring Christ into your business. You bring your business in through Christ. We'll be doing a lot of discussion about the Bible. We'll be going to the Bible, and we'll be reading passages in the Bible, and then we'll be dissecting them and discussing them and bringing forth the leadership principles that were given to us in the written word through the Bible. Like I said, we'll be doing some interviews with some different thought leaders and picking their brains and getting their expertise, because I'm not the expert in everything, but I know people that are, and I can reach into their lives and ask them the questions and bring those answers to you. And we'll be doing different types of training as we go along. So I'll be teaching principles and techniques and different things like that to help you to stay focused in your Christian walk and help you to navigate some of the challenges that we see in today's society, and hopefully in a better way. Some of the other things that we'll be talking about in this podcast are what you want and what you need. So I'll be asking questions very frequently about what do you want to hear about? What questions can I answer for you? How can I address your concerns and things that maybe I've said something that you disagree with, or maybe I've said something that you say, okay, I would like a little bit more clarification on this. Those are things that I want to hear about and that I want to see. And so when this podcast goes up, there'll always be a place for you to comment, and then I'll take that feedback and then I'll bring it back to you, and I'll address those questions as best I can, or I will get somebody that can address those questions, and then we'll discuss those in an open forum like this. So that's kind of what's going to be happening on the podcast, and some of the things that you can expect on a regular basis. Other than that, this is just an introduction to the Focus on Christ podcast. It is episode 1, and I just wanted to give you a little bit about who I am, where I've come from, and then kind of what my mission is and what this podcast is going to be about. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to add value to you and to your life. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. I don't want this to take too long. We're going into 18, almost 19 minutes now, and it's just the introduction. So I hope this helped you to understand a little bit about who I am and where I'm coming from. And I hope you'll dial into the podcast in the future, because I know the value it is going to bring to your life, and I can't wait to pour into you. I want you to know that at the end of the day, I believe in you, and I believe in your dream. And I believe that God has given you a very specific set of skills, talents, and abilities, and I want to help you to learn how to use them for His good work. So, until next time, God bless.